Good morning. This is update for July 15, 2022, day 142 of the war, end of the date update. As always, we're going to start with general strategic questions, and then we're going to move to the walk through the front line. So let's start with general questions. So Ukraine received a few more HIMARS multiple rocket launching system. Specifically, it's M270, which means it's tracked, and also it has 12 rockets as opposed to 6 rockets that wheeled version has. And in addition to that, Ukraine promised to the US and I guess to Germany and UK that it's not going to use those HIMARS systems to attack Russian territory. It's still under question if Crimea and specifically Crimea Bridge sort of still valid targets or not. But that's sort of. Oh, in addition, the scandal with Victoria Sparts growing in size inside of Ukraine. It just becoming pretty. Let's say, pretty popular topic for discussion. She's being invited to all kind of media outlets in Ukraine to speak and present her views. So that situation doesn't stop. It continues growing. Now let's switch to actually Russia, and we mentioned briefly yesterday that there is a trend in Russia to mobilization of the economy for war effort, right? So today we received many more confirmations of that. So there was a sort of meeting of the Russian government with the Russian president, where there were new vice prime minister appointed. His last name is Manturov. So he's kind of like, and he presented his view on his vision, how he sees development of the Russian industry, because he has industry background. He used to be Minister of Industry in Russia. So his view that sort of the way the Russian economy is going to be managed, they're moving away from the market economy and moving back to old sort of, I would say, not good, centrally planned Soviet economy. So essentially, this is again confirmation of their preparation of the economy for the war effort. And he specifically stressed two areas where the focus is going to be of their, I guess, entire Russian industry, which is amazing that the focus is going to be so narrow. It's production of strike UAVs, strike-capable UAVs. So it's essentially equivalent to Bayraktars, to the US ones. Essentially, that's what Russian solar military tells to the Russian industry, to Russian top. That's what they're missing on the battlefield from their perspective. And in addition, Russia is going to be will try to attempt to produce semiconductor, basically equipment to make semiconductors, right? So what happened with Russia? They were trying to create a factory to produce semiconductors, and because of the sanctions, Taiwan refused to supply equipment. So as a result, Russia cannot sort of finish that factory to make semiconductors. So what they decided, okay, we're just going to make their tools to make the factory eventually, right? So to make equipment for that factory, and as a reference. That equipment, it's essentially like all kind of lithography equipment. It's super hard to make. It requires a lot of cooperation from a lot of other industries, and essentially right now there's world monopoly on manufacturing equipment to make semiconductors, and we believe it's a Dutch company called ASML. If I'm not butchering the name, but essentially that's the only game in town right now. So, and it's extremely hard to make. So it's not like it is kind of like more than rocket science, let's put this way. So this seems to be sort of bridge too far for the Russian war effort. Nevertheless, the point is that the economy is switching to this, mobilization for war effort type of thing. In line with this, the Russian president canceled tax breaks for IT industry to increase basically tax revenue for the Russian government. Then there is a prohibition on any cryptocurrencies at the same time. So as you can see, that the screws are getting sort of tightened in the economy, because all of their value add needs to be shifted for the war effort, essentially. On In terms of actually going back to the tax revenues, let's actually look at Gazprom, because it's released its statistical information on its production and export of natural gas. So just for those, just to explain how it works in Russia, there are essentially two main monopolies. One in natural gas, and it's called Gazprom. So it's monopoly to export all of the, essentially produce most of the natural gas, and then it's monopoly to export natural gas out of Russia. And then in crude oil area, it's Rosneft, but it's not as monopolistic there. There are more players there, so it's not as concentrated. Nevertheless, Rosneft is controlling probably lion's share of the production and export market anyways. So this is kind of like a state-run enterprises, essentially similar to how it was in the Soviet Union, how it was in probably any other military economy, probably similar to what was going on in Germany during World War II, what was going on in Japan, what was going on in Italy during those times. There is no essential difference in their sort of, in essence, what it is for. So going back to the numbers that Gazprom reported, so the production of natural gas went down 10% from 280 billion cubic meters to 250 billion cubic meters, and this is for period from January 1st through July 15th. So it's kind of like a little bit more than 6 months. And then we comparing to the same period last year in 2021. And then export has actually went down quite significantly, it by 33%, from 107 billion cubic meters to only 72 billion cubic meters. Obviously, this has to do a lot with what's going on with Europe, and which also suffering mightily, specifically Germany, and everybody see that euro to US dollar right now is 1-to-1 essentially. We'll probably try to discuss that in one of the next videos, what's going on with the European economy, where like specifically energy situation, and why the situation is really not just a hiccup, but it's serious illness, let's put this way. Then related to semiconductors, actually another topic. So right now Russia is actively ramping up purchases of semiconductors from China. China itself doesn't have sort of the most sophisticated production facilities, but nevertheless they have sort of a little bit dated semiconductors, but that's sort of good enough for military application. They're not looking at top-notch semiconductors, so that probably will sort of will be enough sufficient for sort of for what Russia needs it for. In addition, Russia reiterated its peace proposal, which totally unacceptable in Ukraine. But the essence of it is we're going to take Crimea, we're going to take Donetsk region, which is this region, and we're going to take Luhansk region. So that's a Russian proposal, which obviously will not fly in Ukraine. And at the same time, it was kind of like a clever marketing strategy or sales strategy. So the essence of the message: if you don't accept these terms, the next time we're going to talk, the terms are going to be tougher. Probably Russia is going to say that they're going to take over Kherson region and this part of the Zaporizhia region and part of the Kharkiv region. Nevertheless, that's the proposal so far. Okay, now let's actually move to the walk through the front line. We're gonna do it in a clockwise fashion as always, starting from the very north. There's a continuation, typical situation with exchange of artillery and actually mortar fire. Sometimes both sides use UAVs. Sometimes Russia uses attack helicopters. So sort of all sort of menu of tools is on the plate there, and I would say no essential ramp up in activity. So it's somewhat elevated, but not hugely. Now let's move south to the and look what's going on east of Kharkiv. Situation here is essentially on hold, on pause, just exchange of artillery fire and basically reconnaissance group skirmishes. Nothing really new here. Now let's move to Izyum bridgehead. Here Russian troops are again doing probing attacks. So today was Bogorodichne was focus of this probing attack, but essentially this whole area is as we've seen over past whatever months or 2 months this is the whole area where the Russian troops are probing Ukrainian defenses in a search for the sort of weak points there, which also tells us that this is going to be the focus of their major attack once it's launched, right? So right now we kind of like living in this pause regrouping situation, which based on Russian opinions and what Ukrainian command is indicating, that this is going to last probably till August. Things obviously can change and quick notice and everything, but this is kind of like expectation, let's put this way. Now let's move to North Donbass front line and let's see what's going on there. So it was relatively quiet. The only areas of Russian attacks were along this road that goes from Lysychansk to Bakhmut. If you remember, we mentioned it many times that this is a really good defensive position for Ukrainian army because of the road embankment that provides good coverage from artillery fire due to the nature of artillery fire that is not sort of designed to hit if you hide behind the embankment. And so, but nevertheless, Russian troops tried, and it's more probing attacks towards Bilohorivka and just in this area, just generally in this direction here. Now let's move a little bit south, and in this sort of southern section of this front line, the Russian attacks continued in the same area where they were yesterday, towards this village Vershina and also towards this power plant that's here. All of them were without success, and more of the probing attacks in the search of the weak points or just continuing putting pressure on Ukrainian troops. Now let's move south and let's see what's going on west of Donetsk. Situation here is on pause essentially. No essential differences. The only actually interesting development here is that Russian troops try to do probing attack at the relatively wide section of the front line, essentially from Vugledar all the way to a little bit north of Volodymyrivka here, of this village. So kind of like a corner between the Zaporizhia front line and this Donetsk front line, which also indicates that they continue searching for weak points in Ukrainian defenses. And this actually could be one of those, because This is not old defensive line. This is newly established after Ukrainian army was retreating in February and March and early April. So this is the result of that. So it's definitely not good sort of fortification here. It's pretty straightforward, just trenches. So Russian troops are trying to understand if this could be area of their future attack when there is major offensive launched. Because we discussed in the past that it does look that if we go back to this the whole big picture, that attacking straight towards this from this North Donbass front line would be extremely sort of painful in terms of casualties, and success would be probably very minimal. So the most logical attack is actually continue this initial plan of using this northern pincer and a southern pincer. So this attack in this area, they trying to figure out where the weak point to sort of develop the southern pincer. Because if we go back here to Zaporizhia front line, you see that it was initially kind of built here near Velyka Novosilka, and apparently it somehow got stalled, and they are searching for another new weak point, and the new area of attack is in this, as you can see, Vugledar here is. So if we go back, this is this Vugledar. So just shifting a little bit, trying to see if there is weak point there. Now let's we're switching to the Zaporizhia front line here. Everything's quiet. Well, quiet, it's not the right word. It's just positional fighting, exchange of artillery, mortar fire, air strikes, it's rocket strikes. Now let's finish with the Kherson bridgehead. Here things again the same as in many other places. Everything is on pause and essentially positional fighting. Thanks for watching. That's it for today, and until tomorrow, bye bye.